What's up, everyone? It's Gavin or Tweek.
Yours, Marcus or Pink?
Wait, it's Charles or Chuck? Jesus Christ.
No, it was Marcus with the curveball this week. What's up, everyone? You got Matt or Haz. We're coming in hot. You already know what it is. After the post-Genesis episode, three of us were there. We missed you, Marcus, of course. But what a tournament. What a way to start off the year. I mean, obviously, coming in at the end of last year, we had some very interesting results. A lot of players doing very well for themselves. One player not doing as well as he usually does, but coming through, obviously, Leo there at Genesis taking it down. But I think we got a lot to talk about, guys. So, a little around the horn. What do you want to talk about? Marcus!
Oh, man.
Yeah, I know. You were home. You already
True.
did a whole stream reviewing Genesis. I thought you'd be ready.
True, of course. Oh, I watched that joint all weekend. I watched all the games that were streamed. That joint was lit. The FOMO was hitting me different, bro. I kept seeing the Guild House tweets. I was like, oh,
Nirvana Soul. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh, like Nirvana's Soul, bro.
Nirvana Soul,
I just kept seeing, bro. Has sent me like this little video, and I think it was a Rihanna song.
Rihanna. It was Rihanna.
Yeah. Was it Rude Boy? I think it was Rude Boy.
So,
anyway, yeah. And I just hear the music playing, and I'm like, they're at Nirvana Soul, man.
For those who don't know, Nirvana Soul is a cool coffee shop like a block and a half from the venue, and they have really good coffee, and they make waffles, like sweet and savory waffles. Like you can get bacon cheddar waffle. Dude, it's crazy. It's stupid. You got to go. When you go next year, when people go, don't miss out on Nirvana Soul. They play great music as well.
No ad. We just love them.
But that is an honest plug.
The churro waffle is really good.
It's so good.
Really is, yeah.
Oh,
Churro
man.
waffle.
There was a lot of FOMO. Watching was super cool. All the sets, like No Fighter Pass 2. I'm just gonna say it, bro. No, them sets were lit. I was like, bro, what's happened? I forgot that this game was like this. Like, I'm used to seeing somebody get electric and die, and I'm like, oh, it's lit, or get rolling up tilted and die, and I'm like, oh, it's lit, like,
But it's funny you say that because Mars during his run, which we'll obviously talk about more, but he's like, dude, I just had so much fun playing Smash today. I was like, you had a good bracket to have fun in this tournament. You really did. So yeah, it's definitely a pretty big talking point because I feel like FP2 has been on the down and out recently.
I was about to say, but also that's the thing. It's not like they weren't there. Well, some of them were like, Ona wasn't there and stuff, right? But like, they were there. They were just losing. Like, it feels like a lot of the players, like, they worked really hard to figure out. Like, I was watching Chase versus Riddles.
Yes.
And he would just like do the auto turn, like force them to auto turn around because Kazuya's auto turn around is like worse than the rest of the FGC characters or something like that. So he can't like react to you switching landing on certain sides. So he would just like force auto turnarounds when he like jumped above him. And I was like, that's genius. Like, what? Like, why do? Oh, wait. Like, that's some matchup knowledge. Like, you have to like really know the matchup to know stuff like that. And I don't know. I just kept seeing a lot of different counterplay. Obviously, like Mute, just not even just like the entire weekend. Mute has always shown that like there's some work to be done in the Steve matchup, and it definitely showed this weekend. It was just super super sick. Like, I miss Fundy Smash, bro. It was good to see this weekend.
Team Fundies came through the building, man.
My main like talking point of this episode was it's kind of similar to what you were talking about. Like Marcus said, like everyone was at the tournament. It's not like it was just a coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
And Smash Ultimate has been around like, if you compare it to Smash 4's lifespan, like we're at the end and like we're even in past that, right? Like it's been around like slightly longer than Smash 4's competitive lifespan. And I feel like it shows in competitive play really recently. I feel like the meta is really solidifying in itself. And I think the players are really solidifying in their placings and rankings and stuff like that. I don't want to jinx it. Like, Smash Ultimate can turn on its head at any moment. It's just how the game is. But I really think the meta specifically is solidifying. And I feel like there's a lot of patterns I'm seeing throughout different brackets the last couple of months. And like like patterns of consistency as well. That was the main thing I wanted to get across, and I feel like y'all already started on that. I don't know. It feels like Fighter Pass 2, as obnoxious as it can be, it feels like they're becoming a true part of the game rather than like the game plus Fighter Pass 2. It feels like it's actually molding into one like sound meta, and I feel like we talked about that in recent episodes too, where it feels like we're actually on an upturn in terms of the enjoyment, like the players enjoying the game rather than like previous months where like the game was like very doom and gloom.
Right. Well, it's funny because we keep saying Fighter Pass 2, but what we really mean is Steve and Kazuya, because there were 2 Aegises in top 8. A Sephiroth made an appearance. Like, it's just like the other parts of Fighter Pass 2 are showing up a little bit. And Justice, right? Justice against Leo almost caused the upset of the tournament. So, like you said, it's just becoming more integrated and more, I guess natural is a good word for it. But
It just
less,
feels a bit more sound than when like
Mhm.
post quarantine where it's just like chaos. It feels less chaotic, despite Genesis, like despite all the upsets and like it. I'm really starting to feel like when I walk into a venue, it feels like I'm at like as a player myself, and like just when I like just the energy I feel, it feels like a game that is late into its life or like developed into its life. It feels like I'm at like a end game Smash 4 tournament where there's certain things I expect, but like outside of like the top things I expect, there's still a lot of upsets like always. But I don't know. It feels like people's character lineups are really solidified. The Fighter Pass 2 is starting to merge into the rest of the meta. Certain players are just very, very consistent at the top level. And it just feels like a developed game. And post quarantine, it was like COVID and quarantine really like delayed that by quite a bit. And like adding all the characters to the mix really delayed that too, and added to the chaos of like what's going on in this game anymore. But I don't know. That's like going home from the event. That's what I felt. It felt like I was at like a late Smash 4 tournament, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. And I think even we're seeing a lot of counterplay. We've been seeing a lot of counterplay, but I love your point, Tweek, where you're talking about quarantine and just how it delayed the competitive, I guess the offline competitive, right? There was a delay in that, obviously, because of quarantine. We couldn't go to offline events. There's a lot of online events. A lot of the top players didn't participate in that. There are players that emerged from the quarantine era, like really, really strong, like Spargo and, a bunch of other players. I'm not going to just list every single one of them. There's a lot of them. But like Spargo, Sonix, et cetera, right? But it's like you have that delay, and then we had an entire fighter pass. So imagine not one character coming to the game changes everything. Then it's like, okay, we have this kind of quote unquote pause in the offline meta, and then here's like 5 or 6 characters. Oh God, what do they do? Well, this one hits you once and kills you. This one makes terrain and like gets diamond and can also 0 to death you and has like really really crazy tools like minecart and anvil that if you don't know how to deal with these tools, you get reversaled all day and you just lose, right? So I do think we are seeing a very solidified spot in the meta for characters that were more polarizing like Steven Kazuya, because when I look at Akola's bracket, I feel bad. I'm like, dang, Akola ran into 2 players / characters that do really well versus Steve. He got a pretty low roll going into Spargo into losers because Sonix caused the upset and stuff like that, right? And then ran into Mute, and Mute does really well against Steve, in my opinion. I think Mute is one of the best players against Steve. So
Yeah, agreed.
so tough.
Definitely.
That's a tough roll for Akola.
Well, even just statistically, it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Muteace does really well versus Steve, even in the sets he loses. It's always like some of the best fights people put up against Steve in any given bracket.
Yeah.
And one thing I really wanted to
Go
everyone,
ahead.
but one thing I really wanted to get across is what happens from this tournament onwards, like the next handful of tournaments is pretty big in my eyes, because you have, so starting off with like Leo, right? Like Leo gets a big win at Genesis. and hasn't been doing as well to MK Leo standards, which is funny, but because he's still been doing fantastic. But and for everyone else too, like how are the Fighter Pass 2 players that have been doing really well that are in a bit of a slump? How are they going to perform in the next coming months? Or players like me or Spargo that are like usually in like the top 3 that like didn't do as well at Genesis. Like how like I've been saying, it's all starting to mold into one meta, and the question is, are someone like Riddles or Aquila going to continue to is it up or down from there? And same thing for like me, Leo, Spargo. Like it was a bit of a like there's a little bit of ups and downs, and yeah, I feel like it's really big. Like, and like Charles said, like some of these players ran into hard matchups, and the question is like, if they run into those hard matchups again, will they be able to pull through in the future, or are they reaching a point where they're stagnating? And the same thing can be said for the players that play more traditional characters like me or Spargo, right? Like, are we going to be able to bounce back from this, or is it going to take a while? And it's just, I don't know. That's how I feel. It feels like there's like a couple variables, but other than that, there's definitely signs and patterns of consistency at the very top level of play, I feel.
I had a tweet that was kind of similar about the meta rubber banding, because it's like the new character comes out, they're really strong, they're really good, and there's no real counterplay to them yet, so they kind of get the first punch in, right? Like they kind of get like a bit of a sucker punch in, right? Because you don't know the matchup. They're really, really strong, especially Steve and Kazuya. Like they can touch death you. Especially Steve has a great plan of neutral, all that good stuff. And then the meta fights back, right? Like the top players, like, I'm gonna figure this out, I'm gonna beat it, and which is something you've said on the show before. So now we're in the count. All right, you got the first hit in, they swung back. I'm excited to see what the
how does it merge into like becoming one player base rather than like how we separate it so often when it comes to players and characters of DLC characters,
especially Kazuya, because I feel like Steve's gonna be fine. You know what I mean? Steve has made some sound investments in neutral and in just gameplay in general. Everything about Steve is so strong. Kazuya is the one where I'm like, what does the future of this character really look like? Because especially looking at matchups like how Chase played against Riddles, who is the best Kazuya, or Riddles losing to Leon, who also played the matchup very, very
with
well.
Crom.
Yeah,
with
not
Crom.
even
that's an
Lucina.
even bigger deal. I think in terms of
Yeah.
matchups, that's an even crazier one. I think Palutena makes a lot more sense than Crom.
For sure. And it's like the age-old wisdom of like, oh, just camp them. There's obviously more nuance to that, but now we're seeing that nuance, right? Like, how do you move around them? How do you cross them up? Even Kazuya, as Marcus said earlier, how do you do all these things? And and I love seeing how the metas develop, because the characters look a lot weaker than they did 6 months ago. 6 months ago, like you said, we were in the gloom and the doom. Now everything has changed a lot, to the point where there was literally one Steve main in the top 8, the best Steve main too, for sure, for free. And then after that, I think the thing that's interesting in talking about where the meta is going, Aegis, it just seems like again, just kind of, I think the stocks have gone up for Aegis recently, because if you want to win a major bracket, look at someone like Ludo. There's like a 95 to 99% chance that you'll have to fight Sonix.
Yep.
And if you don't have an answer to that, you're gonna fucking lose. Like, that's just how it's gonna work. So I think Ludo can do it with Wario. We don't have to get too into it. I think he can figure it out. He can figure anything out. I have faith in him to do pretty much anything with that character. But at the same time, it's like, damn, Aegis is right there. Aegis is right there. And
there's two other players that do it.
Yeah, and Cosmos got
it's not even like
it's
not even like Aegis is getting smoked in bracket. Like,
okay, weirdly, Cosmos lost to Vendetta, by the way, which I also was completely surprised by, because I think that's one of Ken's worst matchups. But good shit to Vendetta, obviously winning that one. Always got to shout out my guy.
One thing I wanted to mention with Kazuya is like, Kazuya is a Luigi archetype type character, as the community likes to say. And there's a lot of good that comes with that, and there's also a lot of bad that comes with that. And the question is, are you just going to be another one of the Luigi type characters, or are you going to break that mold and actually become better than that in terms of tier list placement? In terms of being annoying, they're all equally annoying, right? But in terms of tournament play, they always reach a plateau, even if they do well sometimes. But Kazuya was breaking that. Riddles was breaking that, like top 8ing, even winning sometimes. And that's unheard of for these characters, because, like Has said, in comparison to Steve has points and apples in different baskets. And Kazuya at first we thought was just full on Luigi type character, but the mold was really broken a little bit. But now it's back to where you mentioned rubber banding, which I think makes a lot of sense, and the question is just how will the character bounce back? Because clearly the character has more potential than um, other characters of the 0 to death archetype usually have when it comes to like multiple tournaments, like different matchups, like. And I don't know, just like I've been saying, it feels like we're at a point where like it's all starting to mold into, Kazuya really feels like, a part of the meta rather than meta plus Kazuya or meta plus Steve or meta plus Riddles, meta plus Aquila. Like it no longer feels like a wrench because it's just been around long enough and we've been playing in enough tournaments. And like I said, like people have multiple characters. Like a big storyline from this weekend is Leo played like 3 or 4 characters.
Yeah.
And like Leo is just ready for like even min and like all that stuff, and that's what's really impressive about Leo's performances. Using multiple characters and also winning matchups that have given him trouble in the past. And the question with Leo is, are we going to deal with like Leo getting first place every tournament again? Like what's going to happen from here? Yeah, sorry to ramble a bit, but that's just the main thing I guess I wanted to talk about today.
Tweek is talking.
I got one more Kazuya point that I like saw a lot with Chase. Now, obviously, not every character has this privilege. Palutena has a literal invincible back air you can space out with, and like Clank with electric. Like Palu is a very, very good character against fighting game characters, just in general, and then specifically against Kazuya. In my opinion, you have all the check marks you want to hit. Like you have the.
I think there's better picks, but in terms of like neutral, it's very good. But you're not going to kill Kazuya easily is like the only thing. So you have to have faith in your fundies, and obviously that can definitely work out.
Like in my opinion, something that Chase abused a lot, like hit all the other check marks. Like, okay, Chase was edge guarding Kazuya really well. Chase was juggling Kazuya really well because Palutena's up air is fucking broken.
And she's just fast.
And yeah, she's fast. You have
ground speed, air speed, jump.
And then you have a cloud up air, right? Like a fucking huge ass disjointed up air that juggles. But the main thing that was impressive to me was how Chase was shield pressuring Kazuya. And this is something that I think a lot of players are not. It's not even. I don't want to say they're bad at it, but Chase was forcing Riddles into a lot of situations where Riddles was shielding, and I think Riddles can make adjustments to that and like not shield as much. Which is kind of hard though because you're just slower, right? And you have to bring up defenses at a certain point. But Chase would always like cross up nair and do a bunch of different things. And the way you shield pressure Kazuya is so important. This character's out of shield is trash. Like the up B out of shield is frame 12. It's a decent out of shield. You're dealing with like Wolf-esque out of shield options, and the jump squat's frame 7. So even if he has a quick aerial, he can't do aerial out of shields, or he can, but they're going to be slower. So Chase just always shield pressured Kazuya, and then Pink mentioned it earlier, the auto turnaround is slower too. So you can really shield, and that's why even characters like Fox, I think Kazuya beats Fox, but Fox can touch Kazuya's shield and just pressure Kazuya's shield, and he has to hold that shit. He can't do anything afterwards. And yeah, like I said, overall, I still think Kazuya beats Fox. But when you can pressure someone's shield and just fucking like they can't do anything, you control the scenario over and over and over again. So it's like, oh, Kazuya finally got to me. Shield pressure, shield. Disengage because I have speed. That's what Chase was doing. Like, oh, you're finally close to me. I'm gonna shield pressure you correctly. Then I can disengage afterwards, and you have to take like this huge gamble to even hit me. Rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. Oh, I got the connection. Push advantage state as hard as possible against Kazuya because again, Paul has the tools to do that. But yeah, I just thought that if you want to see Kazuya counterplay, watch that set. And
Agreed.
Like I said, not everyone has the same tools as Paul.
Sure.
But yeah.
It was a good use of the right tools in the right spot, right, Chuck? And it's like I think of it too. And I think the evolution for that for Kazuya, especially since he does have crouch dash canceling, and when we've seen Riddles have the most success, it's mostly when he's moving. I think shield should specifically only be a parrying thing. And against Palu, you don't really have that luxury. We saw actually one of those clips he did parry a back air and get electric, most of the time it's gonna be neutral air. You can't just sit. You're not gonna sit there and parry every single hit of neutral air or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, so there's just a lot of, like you said, it is a little character specific, but at the same time, the character has weaknesses for sure, and you saw them fully abused in that matchup. And Riddle still took a game, 2 games. Was it game 5, game 4?
A game.
1 game, yeah. And despite all that, despite how well Chase was playing, he still was able to take.
No, I think it was game 5. I think it was game 5.
I was commentating the stream. I don't know.
It wasn't. It was 3-1, I believe.
Yeah,
that was game 5.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. Like,
the heck, I commentated this set. The heck,
I could have sworn I thought it was 3-1.
Well,
I didn't commentate it, so I probably shouldn't have said anything.
I'm watching the VOD right now. It's game 5. But it does remind me. It reminds me of Greninja a little bit, where he's such a strong and good character. But if you start pressuring his shield, he has no really good out of shield level. Like, you can mash on the character's shield very, very well. And then the Greninja's answers to that all the time was, we need to move more, move better. And Kazuya, hey, he does have some good ground movement. So, but this frame 7 jump squat is a killer. So
I think it's a
I
good
don't know.
point
I'm curious.
that you said, like, it's scary if they're in shield too much, and I think that's just a Smash thing in general. It's obviously for Kazuya, it's more specific. If you're being locked down by your opponent and you're being like very rigid in your play, and that just says a lot about what's going on in the current match for any match of Smash. And personally, when I am doing that to my opponent, or if my opponent's doing that to me, it is very, very important. And like you said, if Kazuya's getting bullied and they're even scared to parry, like, you know, it reminds me of like when you want to deal with Fox's like full hop aerials, but you're not sure if it's going to be down air this time. You're not sure if it's going to be nair this time. And you just respect it and dip. Like it reminds me of it just reminds me of situations like that where, you know, if a fighting game player is too scared to commit to their own parries and they just start playing on the defensive, that's a big opportunity for you to win the set, I think. Mm-hmm. And if you can get that into their head that, like, you know, their usual bread and butter isn't reliable, then that means you're playing the matchup really well, and maybe even your character does well too.
All right, so I guess.
All right, what else we got?
I mean, I think we got to talk about Leo, right?
There's a billion things. We'll get to Leo later. We got all day to get to Leo. All right.
All right.
A couple quick ones I think that would be easier to pick off first. Kurama, sponsored by Carmine Corp. That is an enormous deal, by the way. I don't know how, because I didn't watch the streams, obviously, but I know they are an enormous French org. They have almost like 400,000 followers on Twitter. And I don't know the whole political situation over there, but they are more into esports than, I think, more progressive in the esports scene than any other country in the world right now, I'm pretty sure. So they're investing, and I don't know exactly how it works, but it is a really good sign for them and all the French players, casters, everyone that we saw this weekend and that we see whenever they have their tournaments. So I'm pumped for Kurama. He obviously deserves it. He had a pretty good weekend. Didn't get top 8, but hey, a lot of people didn't get top 8 at this tournament, so it's all good. But I'm excited to see what Kurama does, and I'm excited he got a really good sponsor too. It's a very, very big deal for them to sponsor a North American player, so it's sick.
Yeah, congrats.
Congrats to Kurama.
Let's go, Kurama.
Let's go, Karams. Yeah, that was good. And then, I don't know. Yeah, what else you guys got? Vendetta had one on a run. That was cool.
Oh.
I did want to talk about Leo's Joker, actually.
Okay, fine.
All right.
Whatever.
The consistency from a player and character perspective is so incredible. At Let's Make Big Moves, it feels like Leo's Joker was heating up every game or set he played, and it was getting better and better and better. And at Genesis, I think it was just the same thing where it's just on the up and up. The move I want to talk about is gun. Like,
his gun usage is insane.
The chip damage, the extensions, the defense. Like, if Leo if Leo has the lead, like, Joker's defense and chip damage is just Sonic levels of good. And it's like, especially if you watch like versus Mute, like towards the, like as the sets progressed, like it's so hard to fight back. I mean, numerically you really can't in a lot of those spots. Like there's just so much extra damage Leo would get, and like Leo's just so smooth with it. The platform extensions into drag downs into multiple grabs, it was just incredible gameplay. And we've talked about Joker a lot back in the day on this show when we were seeing Leo's Joker more often. And it just goes to show how strong the character is. And it's kind of like how like it's funny if people ever doubt a character like Aegis, right? Because Aegis will always be better than any character you compare them to most of the time. Same thing for Joker. It's like if I'm playing like this game or if I'm making a tier list on this game, you'll never see me, who's been someone that's been playing for years and years, put a character like Kazuya over Joker. Even if I see Kazuya winning every tournament or something, or you'll never see me put a character like Kazuya over Aegis. You know, they're all great characters, but a character that is a traditional Smash character, just extremely overtuned, is always going to be the best of the best. And I don't know. I just think Leo's gameplay just progressively gets better and better as he solidifies this lineup he's been using lately. Incredible stuff. Especially the neutral and defense is what I wanted to get at. The gunplay especially was slightly better than last time I saw his Joker play.
It just felt like Leo knew literally every situation like to a T.
Yeah.
Like as
has
he
multiple
started
answers for it too.
Yeah, like
one.
As he was like playing more and more, like you just see like the cogwheels on his brain turning, like
getting comfortable too.
Yeah, like he was playing Mute, and he's like, man, like Mute keeps going low and floating all the way out here past the screen. I can't even get out there. Side B, I said,
dude, the double side B was so
funny. Side B was so sick.
That side B started landing, he just started doing it more. He's like, this was kind of cool. It's kind of like a little kid like playing a game. Like something works, and they're like, "Oh, that's awesome!" And they start like the side B usage just like went up like double. It was very funny.
It was just like he hit like I will not like my mind was blown. Like the thing that blew my mind the most was when he hit light. He had arson up tilt. Light fell out of the up tilt,
and he was
directional
ready.
Air dodge, and he was ready to get a fair one follow up. Like who's ready for that situation? Like, dude, like I'm sitting there like, oh, he fell out of my move. Leo's like, oh, he fell out of my move.
And I feel like that is a big deal because he's been playing Joker more consistently again, and maybe even just days prior to that tournament, he might not have been ready for that. But like you said, the cogs really start turning, and I feel like just having that muscle memory ready to go is a big deal when you're up on that stage. And I feel like Leo is getting more and more comfortable. So the Joker is something that everyone definitely has to be worried about because it's developing before our very eyes in tournament.
Not only was like let's make big moves like the first real tournament he was going Joker again, but he only lost to you in one of Joker's worst matchups. And he also lost to Sonix, who he also threw a game away as Joker in one of his worst matchups, you know. And then he had to go Aegis, and he'd clearly been putting more time into Joker. So it's like, bro, I don't know. Like, I think it was already, I don't want to say mostly back, but it was a lot of the way back. But it was
exactly.
But it was insane at Genesis how not even between games, between fucking stocks, between interactions, he's starting to remember, you know, he's starting to believe. Like it started happening. It was like, holy shit, man. Like, and especially because, oh, dude. Starting off Genesis 2, like starting off in top 8, I always think it's so interesting because a lot of people are talking like, oh, they should do Genesis, it should cut off in top 64 to go into day 2 or whatever. I'm like, but you give Leo and like everyone else a whole day to prepare for their first match. Like his Aegis was ready to go and play against Sonix, but he still had to go through that learning process, right? The whole download and everything he had to work through. And then he had to switch to Joker. Like, he had to go through, I don't know, man. Like, he's just unbelievable. Like, it's like Batman with prep time. You give Leo with prep time, it's over. It's over. Leo with prep time, man.
Yeah, the speed and the comfort, too, and, like, the creativity. Like, it was all just coming together, and it was great to see. It was kind of like seeing an old friend.
Yeah, and, like, for me, at the beginning of the tournament, when I was watching it, I was like, honestly, his Byleth is better. Like, that's what I was thinking at the beginning of the tournament, right? I was like, bro, his Byleth is, like, infinitely better than his Joker, right? And as the matches started going on, I was like, wait a second.
Just
Who
like
was
last
I even
tournament, you
talking
just
to?
it's like you're both believing in the Joker progressively, like the person playing and the person watching.
I was like, what's happening? And then he played Byleth, and I was like, that is slightly out of practice. I can tell it's slightly out of
Yeah.
practice.
Didn't
I guess that's a
And
question is like,
it
what are
begs the
Leo's
question of,
priorities moving forward
mhm,
from the last couple tournaments he's done?
what
I
will
think
his lineup be?
it's an interesting question too, because there's a pretty solid mix of complete solo mains in top 8 and then like duo mains or whatever the hell Leo's doing, like however many characters he's doing. But you got Mute, obviously solo main, Sonix solo main, Light solo main. That's 3 of the 4 in winner side of top 8. Like it's just, and then you got you and Sparkle obviously duo main, Gluto's a solo main. Like come on, obviously Akola's a duo. So it is really interesting to see. Like you said, you could see the rust when it comes to some characters. And I know you think about this a lot too, Gavin, because you do really do. You're a Diddy made with a Sephiroth for a couple different matchups based at this point, basically. Unless something's changed since yesterday, since I talked to you. It's always I don't know. I never want to assume with you. Like PT's back, baby. Oh, okay.
Get the thumbnail ready.
Not the PT.
Oh, you stream today, Gavin.
Huh?
All I'm saying.
I'm not saying anything.
Yeah. Anyway.
Huh?
Yeah, I think, and like you were talking about with like the prep time, like when you're playing multiple characters and you're preparing for a solo main, it gives you a lot of options and comfort, especially in a best of 5 scenario, and that's something I'm always grateful for. Like if I have to play someone like Luto or Light, like I have so many game plans, and I know they're not going to switch it up and surprise me. So
Hey, Tweek Talk fans, you know what it is. It's sponsorship time, and we're happy to say that today's episode is brought to you by Honey, the easy way to save when shopping on your iPhone or your computer. Now, personally, I love finding deals when shopping online. It makes me feel savvy and smart with my decisions, especially when the deals are a surprise. There's nothing like feeling a little lucky when shopping online and finding good deals. Thanks to Honey, manually searching for coupon codes is a thing of the past. Honey is the free shopping tool that scours the internet for promo codes and applies the best one it finds to your cart. Now imagine you're shopping on one of your favorite sites. When you go to checkout, the Honey button appears and all you have to do is click apply coupons. Wait a few seconds as Honey does its work and searches for coupons it can find for that site. And if Honey finds a working coupon, you'll watch the prices drop. Now, this year, one of my resolutions is to get more into working out. I've been good about the treadmill, but I want to start pumping some weights, right? So I was looking for a new blender, right? I was trying to buy a new blender online. And when I went to go check out, I clicked on my Honey widget and I was able to find a deal and actually save $20 on a really nice blender. Now, this was surprising because it's a really high quality blender. Saving $20 on it was super awesome. And I got to thank Honey for that one. Now, one last thing. Did you know Honey doesn't just work on desktops, it also works on your iPhone too. Just activate it on Safari and your phone and save on the go. If you don't already have Honey, you could be straight up missing out. And by getting it, you'll be doing yourself a solid in supporting this show. Get Honey for free at joinhoney.com/tweek. Again, that's joinhoney.com/tweek. joinhoney.com/TWEEK. Tweek.
But it's also, there's pros and cons to whatever you decide to do. And I think Muteace is a big player to talk about from this weekend, especially as someone that's like inspired me over the last few months. Like they've been doing really well, really consistent, doing really well versus Steve. And Diddy and Peach, I feel like they can have at least comparable game plans and matchup spreads and stuff like that. Like there's like some really scary struggles versus some characters, and being able to clutch a win out versus Light and being able to win versus like Joker and
First win on Gluto for Mute, that was huge.
Yeah, stuff like that, like being able to defeat players that I couldn't in that very specific bracket. Just I feel like we both chat a lot as we're playing in a tournament. I feel like it inspires me a lot with when it comes to Diddy specifically. Like it's not a character I compared myself to until I started playing Diddy, right? But Mew is like a really, really, really big inspiration for me right now, and it's always like if Mew can do it, then I can, and it inspires me going into the next tournaments or going up against players that I might have lost to previously or something like that. So yeah, just incredible gameplay, incredible discipline. The advantage state was crazy. Like while also like having a lot of like outside struggles, not even just like the peach stuff, like just real life struggles that make competing harder. I can relate to that really heavily too. So like the character archetype and like the difficulties of just life in general, like amazing job this weekend, Mute. You are an incredible player and fighter. Like just great job.
You want to talk about terrible bracket luck too? Meister to start off, what was that, top 128, top 64? Meister playing Gluto, who Charles already said. Gluto was 4-0 over Mute before going into that tournament. Then having to play Light in top 8, who has like an 80-4 or something record against Ling, who's an exceptional Peach player. Like, I don't know. To me, this is what I love about Ultimate. I feel like we go back and forth so much between you gotta co-main. It's impossible. You can't play all 90 matchups. But then you see Mute beat Meister and Mute beat Light.
Yeah.
Like things that I thought were fucking impossible.
Yeah.
Just making it happen. Like it's
A
incredible.
really difficult bracket and like
Yep.
just kept going through winners.
That was the funny thing. Mute tweeted too. Like the win I'm most proud of is against Meister. Actually, he's like,
Yeah.
you might not think it,
That's
but
so
it
funny
was against
because
Meister.
I said the same thing at the Ludwig tournament. I said like honestly very similar. Like I got second at that event as well. But I said my most proud win was against Meister like way earlier in the day, which is very funny. And I 100% understand where he's coming from.
Honestly, this says a lot about Meister. Shout outs to Meister.
Yeah.
Hey, Meister kind of nice with it. Hold
Yeah,
up.
right?
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I think both Leo and Mute, very impressive runs. I think they had to go up against a lot of characters that they both struggle against, right? And they're able to persevere through winners. That's crazy. It's such a hard thing to do in this game, especially coming from Mute, particularly where Mute doesn't switch characters for answers, right? And not to take away from Leo. Obviously, Leo switching to whatever character that needs to get the job done. I respect that. And that's really, and the two characters that really give Leo trouble are Sonic and Min Min, right? So the Rob having to come out for Min Min and then the Aegis having to come out for Sonic, but Mute just going all peach no matter what. And the thing about these really, really large tournaments, these super majors like Genesis or SmashCon or anything like that, it's a marathon. And running a marathon with your solo main being Peach is really, really hard. Like Peach is one of the highest APM characters in the game. So Mute is doing a lot of actions per minute throughout the entire weekend. So, I mean, shout outs to Mute. And even like towards the end there in grand finals, I was like, man, Mute is running out of gas. And that's another thing I want to say is Leo never runs out of gas.
Yeah, we don't say that often.
What is up with that? Yeah,
dude, Leo in grand finals of Genesis.
Ever said that? Period. Not even just like not often. Have we ever been like, oh, Leo looks out of gas?
He looks like he's running out of steam. Yeah,
that's not a sentence.
Yeah,
that's one of his best.
Leo's still ramping up.
Yeah, that's the thing. It gets harder. He plays better.
He opened up with a reverse 3-0 against Sonix that lasted 3.5 days. You know what I'm saying? Like he was just he was on the stick,
good to go. And then winning the tournament from losers after having sets like that is very impressive.
Then reverse 3-0 light. Like there's so many game 5 scenarios, right?
I kind of wanted to have a specific shout out to players like Leo, Spargo, Aquila that have had like a lot of magnifying glasses on them, like, who's the best player in the world, like, and like especially Leo, like just kind of trusting himself and just going to the next tournament, like, and just winning. Like it's really impressive because I feel like, at least for me specifically, like I feel like I was feeling that pressure like as soon as I sat down to play my first match at Genesis specifically. It's just a different tournament. Especially like I have my own history with that tournament series, so like just respect to like those players specifically for persevering through like anything. I admire that a lot, and I definitely was feeling the pressure. And like for players like Luto to like just sit down, just like pull, like just clutch it out with Wario, or just like play super well, or all these players that had like game 5s, whether it was winning or losing, and just kept going, and like Light or Spargo or Leo, like it's just impressive. Like these players are just warriors, and it's like they're gonna show up next tournament and just put on a show like always too. So
Bro,
scary stuff.
You were giving yourself a lot of like slack for like you know, you lost a light, tragic banana trip misinput,
Yeah.
and like you, you said it during this, right? Like you have a history with this tournament, and you're also in conversation. Like, wait a second, is Tweek the best player in the world? So now you have the pressure from that. You have the pressure of, oh snap, I'm about to top 8 my first Genesis. Like
Yeah.
for the first time, like you've been playing for so long, and like
Yeah.
this was not an easy Genesis. Like it was less entrants than last year, right? But like the players who were there, most of the contenders for all of the contenders for number one in the world were at the tournament. Unless y'all count Proto, in which case he wasn't there. But
Proto and
um,
Onan were probably the two biggest. Like
yeah,
these players can top 8, but they're not here.
Yeah.
yeah,
Type of
right.
players. Yeah.
And I was just sitting there. I was like, bro, top 8 in that tournament itself is, and we say it every year with Genesis, but like you top 8 in that tournament itself shows how far you come. Because I think if this were 2 years ago, you lost a light like that, you probably wouldn't even have showed up for your ninth place match. Like you
Yeah.
might have just left the venue. Like, I'm not doing it, right? So like,
Yeah. I mean, I've had very similar losses like that light loss at Genesis specifically.
yep.
Like game fives, just like extremely unfortunate, like 1 in a million situations, like just, and then I play like Dabuzz and losers, and I'm just not ready for that. Like I
Mm-hmm.
just mentally can't, physically, mentally just can't do it. Um, but yeah, I was just so tilted after the light loss, just like otherworldly tilted, and I felt like the gameplay level I was at was just fortunate enough to win versus Cosmos to qualify for top 8. Because I was thinking about my winner's set the whole time. I couldn't, like, I'm sorry, but I wasn't like super conscious that set. But I felt like just the second to second situations, I was just winning them, and it was just pure muscle memory and like the subconscious aspect of Smash that I was just winning. So that's very fortunate that I didn't have to like do different layers or like do like specific changes, and it kind of just won me the set. Because honestly, as cool as it is that I got top 8, I don't even want to give credit to my mental, because that's how bad it was after I lost in winners. Like it was just, I just happened to win, and that's cool. But yeah, it was tough, and I tried my best to collect myself again, but it just did not happen. It was just my winner set in my brain the rest of the weekend. But yeah, it is cool that I got top 8.
Well,
But yeah, I feel like my last few game 5 sets I've won, like I ended up being on the winning side of it. So it sucked to be on the losing side of a close game 5 loss again, because I was starting to forget what that felt like, because I had a handful of fortunate wins. So,
yeah.
but I'm really proud of Light for going on to like beat Spargo and stuff like that, because that's something
He's
that
been struggling.
usually doesn't happen as often. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like Spargo won the last like set or two. So, um, just like players like Mute and Light, like just persevering with their like solo characters is inspirational as a Diddy player specifically.
I think too with your run, it is worth noting, because we were only talking about the Light and the Cosmos set, that you had to play a Steve, Samuel, and you also had to play Rocky, who's a very good Pac-Man
Yeah,
too, which is very very tough for your character lineup. So I'm glad. I mean, you 3-0'd both of them, but I know those are stressful matchups for you. So even going into the top 8, like those were the stressful matchups, and then you got to play a couple familiar ones. You get to play against Big Boss next, who's the
yeah,
Rob, obviously, and then you played against Vendetta, who played the matchup fantastically. He went all Ryu, or did he go Ken game 1?
yeah. So he went all Ryu, and Vendetta did play that set fantastic. I
Oh
had
yeah,
a
that
lot
was
of
insane.
experience playing against Vendetta online over quarantine, just like really good practice. We put a lot of hours in together, and I think Vendetta was really prepared and played really well. I feel like Vendetta's neutral, or at least patience slash defense specifically, was actually a lot better than mine that set, and I probably can't say that for a lot of players. My patience and defense is usually stronger. So with Ryu versus Diddy specifically, for me to say that, I feel like is really really crazy. especially because I'm actually really good against players that I play with a lot. If I get a grip on something, I'll never let it go, and you'll never be able to play the game. But I feel like Vendetta really switched that up a lot and just played it really well. I also didn't expect the Ryu for some reason. I expected it maybe after I beat the Ken or something like that. So just good stuff. But yeah, I did have to play basically like the worst case scenario kind of Diddy bracket at Genesis. And I was saying that a lot and thinking that a lot, that it was very different than Let's Make Big Moves, where I didn't play Sephiroth a single game that tournament, where I actually had to play Sephiroth quite a bit this weekend. I played Sephiroth against Steve and Pac-Man. And yeah, like you said, I won both sets 3-0. So that was pretty cool. It was just really cool to give Sephiroth some spotlight. None of it was like on stream or anything. But yeah, that's the cool thing about like winning those sets with Sephiroth is I got to play some familiar matchups because Sephiroth was able to pull through. You know what I mean? Like I got to play against Rob, which is my favorite matchup in the entire game, and I got to play against Vendetta's Ryu, which is a familiar matchup and player. So kind of like Leo's run, just having that kind of thing to fall back on is really nice. And my Sephiroth gets a lot less tournament play time than my Diddy, so I'm never really sure how it's going to work out. And it can like be like hot or cold, like within a stocks difference. Like it could just like it could be working great, or it can be like feeling like it wasn't worth selecting at all, and that's really nerve wracking. And not even to include the character specific stuff that would align with the same thought process, where like he's just not a consistent character or like a top tier or anything like that. He's like the same weight as Kirby or whatever. So like it's scary, and like not having like any good moves or frame data. Like, but I feel like it ramped up versus Samuel Steve and versus Rocky's Pac-Man, like as the set progressed, and that was cool. But Gluto, I feel like never even gave me a chance to like figure it out. So that was scary. It was a big decision for me to either like lose game one to Diddy or stay Sephiroth, and I stayed Sephiroth. And that was probably my biggest mistake of that set. I feel like I probably needed to switch off, but like I said, like I was having such a hard time like really being in the moment. Like Genesis is super stressful, and I was really upset about my winners loss still. And that's basically what I've been getting about how inspirational these players in top 8 were. They're so in the moment and so focused and playing so well. And I'm just kind of like felt like I was looking from like outside of myself, like just like kind of envious of it. I was like, damn, like I'm super nervous and I don't even know what character I'm gonna pick, and these guys are playing so well. But yeah, that was pretty much it for my run. Basically just more Sephiroth than usual, which is pretty cool because I love the character, but definitely lose more and more faith with him by the day, but we'll see what happens.
It's hard because with you specifically, you can play a bunch of different characters really well. So you just have, well, one, you just have a lot of options, and two, you can push Sephiroth really far. And there are a lot of players that push like lower high tiers, you know what I mean, like pretty far, or like mid high tiers, whatever have you. Like Sephiroth's decent, obviously, and Sephiroth's solid. Sephiroth can get some wins, and if you pick it in certain matchups, yes. But are there other sword characters that do it way better than Sephiroth?
Multiple.
Abso-fucking-lutely. There's a shitload of them actually. So it's weird because a lot of people actually came up to me during the tournament. They're like, "Man, you think Sephiroth sucks? Like you're crazy." I'm like, dude, at the end of the day, I don't really care where I put Sephiroth in terms of like top whatever. Is there other characters that can do what Sephiroth does but better? And if the answer is yes, then I don't give a shit where Sephiroth is. There's just other characters that can do what he does, but way stronger and way more.
That was one of the harsh realities as I started to play Sephiroth, especially with Diddy specifically, is realizing that he doesn't just cover zoners. In fact, I think he does pretty poorly versus some zoners. Like he's pretty like hit or miss versus like I don't even think he does that well versus like Samus or like the Lynx, and like it's scary that Sephiroth is my like counterpick guy because it's just not.
It's super fucking cool.
It is.
Agreed.
It does rule, yeah.
It's fucking sick. Sephiroth is badass.
Yeah, and like, or just in general, like anytime I'm going Sephiroth instead of Diddy, the funniest thing about it is sometimes I'm still playing a losing matchup, and sometimes I'm playing a worse matchup than I would have been if I played Diddy. Like for example, like Light and his Fox is such a hard thing to be ready for because at Ludwig's I won with Sephiroth, but I knew it might not happen again, and it's also like laughably bad when it comes to like the ratio of the matchup. It's like 6-4 at best. Like it could very realistically be worse than that, like just by the numbers, just like objectively, like the frame data that's like being put on the table. But if I play Diddy, it's like just as bad, or like there's like it's like there's not many pros or cons. It's basically all cons across both characters. So it's just tough decision. And I feel like I had a lot of really close matches that it just ended up being losses. So like sometimes it's not even about Sephiroth or Diddy, right? It's just sometimes it came down to like a decision or two. So
So I don't understand sometimes. Like while you were talking about that, production was playing U vs Ludo game 1, and I'm just watching it and I'm like, okay, so it's down 3 stocks to 1, and then he starts playing the game. Like what happened? Like why does that happens?
Well, in terms of
Why?
in-game stuff, I kind of like being in that situation as Sephiroth because this also happened versus Samuel Steve in Winners, where I was it was game 3, so I'm up 2-0, and I was getting 3 stocked. I died at like 0 to like the block
Jab.
formation, and I don't like the jab and and I,
You
but I keep winning the rest of the game, so I become like Palutena speed, and like that's at least over half of the reason why I started like putting up a fight, because I'm wing Sephiroth for most of the sometimes the rest of the game if I'm losing by that much. So it's just I don't know.
That is one thing I'll say about Sephiroth. Like sometimes when I watch you play him, I'm like, it's going all right. But when you get wing, I'm like, all right, it's game time. Like let's go. All right, hang
That's
it up.
the scariest
Let's
thing
go.
though, is it's being boiled down to like one of the lightest characters being at kill percent. So it's like I have less to work with, but like it is my like win condition. It's my chance. So
Hell, you don't need it all the time, but it is very, very nice when you
as the bracket progresses, it feels like I do need it all the time.
I was gonna say,
Sure.
I think you do. Like, I mean, that's why I think the character is flawed. Like, you just have things that are just directly conflicting with each other. It's like, oh, how do you win with Sephiroth? Well, I get wing and I'm like super broken. I'm DLC. I paid $6 for this. I'm Sephiroth. I sliced Galeem in half. I'm super crazy, right? Like, that's why you fucking play the fucking character, and then you're like practically Pichu weight, but you can stack fucking 5 Pichus on this guy. Like that's the height of Sephiroth. Like 5 or 6 Pichus. At
5
least
Pichus
with
in a trench coat, yeah.
That's very funny.
Someone needs to draw that art, because that's what
sounds
fucking
very
Sephiroth is. But yeah, I mean, because like when you think about Pichu, at least you have a small hurt box, right? So at least you're hard to hit. The caveat is like, oh, Olimar, Pichu, Kirby, like they're all really light, but they're very hard to hit. I'll even throw Fox in there, right? Fox is like a medium-sized character, but very fast and nimble, right? Like there's caveats to it. But Sephiroth is like, oh, I'm super fucking light, and I'm just the Empire State Building. Like you're just so fucking tall. Like Fox can do rising back air, and you can only exclusively do that on fucking heavies. You know what I'm saying? Like Donkey Kong, Bowser. Those are the only characters that Fox can do rising back air in neutral, but not and you can do that on Sephiroth too. It is so hard, and usually when you get wing, you're in disadvantage. So it's like, okay, so I have wing. It's like getting Arsene. Now I'm about to get like with Arsene. It's like, okay, now I'm gonna get 2 framed on paper, yada yada yada, right? But wing, I would say it's better than Arsene in terms of just like you get the extra jump and stuff like that, obviously, but you're still in disadvantage. And I think people are getting better at like, oh, you're on the ledge, like, all right, sick. Be on the ledge. Who fucking cares? Like Sephiroth doesn't do anything.
That's what I told y'all so long ago.
Right, like you mentioned it earlier. Like at the end of the day, you only can grab the ledge 5 times. You have to get to the fucking ground eventually, right? So you can just corner him.
You have the
Cornering a
3
tall
wall
character is
stabs and
free.
stuff.
You're saying that because I did the Squid Plumber Holy Water Stall to you. You're like, fine, you do it 5 times, dummy. I was like, all right, fine, I will.
Yeah,
I kept doing
sure.
that to Chuck when we were playing friendlies.
Oh, okay.
It ruled.
Yeah,
And he's like, yeah, remember that,
shit,
Chuck?
that shit does not phase me. I don't care. Soras will do their little shit or whatever, and I'll just run to the center and just start popping lasers. I'm like, if I get like 2 damage off of this, W. Fuck
Yeah.
you. Like,
This is
I'll catch your normal
very
getup with laser.
off topic, but you know who played fantastic this weekend?
Mars.
Who am I gonna? Oh yeah, you got it.
I was gonna say Mars or Sore. Sore also played very, very well.
True.
Yeah,
Yeah, now the
Mars
Japanese,
really
like,
showed up.
Now, yeah.
The Tweek Talks power up, right?
You know what's funny?
Can we take credit for it?
Yes,
I
I am. Light took credit for Leo. We're doing it.
He was saying like, I know that was. I was like,
That
what are you
Jim.
talking about?
Yeah, what is he talking about?
Ultra protagonist, like
on the
tunnel vision
episode-
protagonist.
Yeah, no, that's just light. Yeah,
He's like, Leo won. This is about me. All right, baby.
I'm the best.
On the episode before, like Genesis, Mars was saying like, and everybody's talking about Genesis Mars. Is Genesis Mars gonna show up? And I don't care. And then Genesis
He showed
Mars
up.
showed up. And I
Oh,
was
Genesis
like,
Mars definitely showed up.
I was like,
Holy
what?
shit.
bro, you
I
be
was-
acting like you don't care, but you kind of care.
I was worried. He'll always be a competitor in his heart and
Yeah.
soul for sure. And the
Mhm.
thing I was worried about.
That's how I
is he
feel about
lost-
Void too. Both of them.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
lost, he lost early to Moxie, which that's a tough matchup though. So like, all right, we'll see how the losers
She had a great
bracket
tournament.
goes. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Jag
Another player
into
played very
Mars.
well. Yeah,
Jag into Mars, 2 wins.
amazing. Yeah, shout out to Moxie.
Great job.
Always a threat in these bigger brackets for sure. But so Mars goes down to losers early and then goes on. He takes over the French dimension, which is insane.
That was
So
anyway.
funny.
That was hilarious.
The
yeah.
Mars
Like that was
dimension.
his intention going into it.
True.
Like that was
And
the best part about that.
He beat Sharp 3-1. He beat Big Boss 3-1. He beat Leon, French Leon 3-1. Now this is where it starts to get dicey. He has to play against Siski, and it's like, oh boy. He won 3-2, which is great, and then he had to play to Buzz, and he won.
Which
game
is like
5.
as dicey as it gets for him.
Oh
Well,
yeah, absolutely.
So the Buzz, the last 6 times they played, the Buzz has won. So I think I was
Yeah.
talking with Mars about this. He said right when Ultimate started, he beat the Buzz 6 times in a row, and then after that, the Buzz beat him 6 times in a row.
Oh my
and
gosh.
then
This
it's
was
like
this
the-
was the most important set then.
yes. So he's been struggling against like Olimar.
Wait.
He hates Olimar. Olimar's
Yeah,
his
but
most hated
now-
character.
Yeah, but now he's gonna win 6 in a row now, or 5
Well-
more in a row, because
well,
that's
the-
how it goes, right?
Well, I mean,
Really?
the most important thing is nobody beats Mars 7 times in a row. Just remember that. Okay?
Also, no one
nobody.
beats the Buzz 7 times in a row, except for Leo's Joker. See ya.
True.
I can think of one
Astray.
actually.
I love.
It's not
I
a
love
stray. I love to Buzz. He knows it. He's the one who called it out. That's
Oh,
not a
man.
stray. Losing to Leo is not a stray. There's no way. Losing
But when
Leo's a
Leo used
stray,
to only
everyone's
bring
got
out his
one.
Joker versus him, it was kind of funny. I missed that arc. But Leo does play Joker against other players. Confirmed.
Yeah.
Confirmed.
Yeah, super confirmed. And we haven't even talked about Mute yet, which is, I mean, we have a little bit, but damn.
Yeah,
I mean,
or
this is,
Sonix, like
I was saying
geez.
this is one of the best runs in Ultimate history, period. Maybe in Smash history, period, to be honest with you. Let me pull, okay, just from, well, let me see if there's anything crazy in the earlier rounds, because the Meister set is the first one I watched.
Oh, for sure.
Monty, too. So, starting that one off right there. That's another game to watch, right? Another good,
Yeah.
another
I
good
had to
game to
figure
watch.
something out real quick. You said no
Oh,
one
yeah.
beats Mars 6 times in a row, and I had to do some searching.
Oh
but-
my god, I
Oh.
hate him. Like,
No, I'm not going to
Uh,
say anything. I'm not going to say anything.
Well, we know.
All right, let's talk about Mute's run. Let's talk about
That's a good idea. Great
so
idea. Great idea.
crazy.
Editors, take that out. That was terrible.
No, it
Keep
wasn't.
it in.
No, it wasn't. It's called
if
I
you
didn't,
know-
I didn't do anything. I was just doing some research.
Oh, you're doing some research. I
just,
see. I
just
see.
some data, yeah.
you
So
know.
Monty,
You know.
Monty 3-1, Muteace, then beat Meister 3-1, Akolo 3-1, who he was what, the 2 seed in the bracket? 2,
Yes.
3?
Yes.
Yeah.
2.
One
And then he
through
beat
three,
Gluto 3-0, which is crazy because he was 4-0 against him before that. Gluto was up 4-0 against Mute. And then that was just get into top 8. So there you have number 2 seed. You got Gluto, who's like the 5 or 6 seed. Then Light. Then Leo. And then that's it. But even then, and again, it's not just like the players and how highly they're ranked, the matchups he had to play, and specifically
Insane.
not just character matchups, but player matchups, both. You know what I'm saying? Like playing against specifically Lights Fox, specifically Meister's Game and Watch. Like Leo, Leo went his rusty Joker. Like nope, this is waiting Genesis Leo, and he took a set. Like this is he had the best run of the tournament and one of the best runs that we've ever seen in Ultimate history, and it was all with Solo Peach. Fucking insane.
And we
fucking insane.
Solo Peach with running into bad matchups. Now there are some Peach brackets where you can cruise on through, right? Get into top 8 and be like, all right, some meta characters. Like I don't have to, play against the Stray Belmont or the Stray Game & Watch or something like that. Because Peach is a character that is meta, is a character that hits very hard, has good frame data. You have access to float, which is one of the most insane mechanics in the game because when you float, you get full hop multiplier, which is crazy. And you can do it instantly low to the ground and do some crazy shit off of that. But she's not mobile, right? So when you're dealing with Peach, if your character is like just general, has projectiles or can kind of just slow down certain characters, it's going to suck a lot for the Peach player because Peach just, when you're floating, you're not that fast. You're not quick in the air or on the ground. So shout outs to Mute. And I gotta say, Mute was in so many like super ultra last stock, last hit scenarios for so many games, and Mute clutched out almost every single one of them. That is so fucking hard to do because the stress and the pressure multiplies. Like, okay, we're like last stock, last hit, kill confirm wise, right? Last for like 30 seconds. Holy fuck, now we're both at like 150. Jesus Christ, I can't get hit by anything, but he can't get hit by anything. And then that goes on for like another 30 seconds longer, right? And it just keeps multiplying. And it is so hard to do that on a stage like Genesis. To have the composure to pull that off as much as he did, holy shit. Like, I gotta give it up. That there was so many scenarios. The one that was the craziest was Game 5 versus Light. Oh
Light
man,
one, yeah.
Mute took so many grabs. Mute was like, "You are grabbing me. I don't care. I will take as many grabs as you want. I do not care." It was so intense,
dude. Even watching it back, I'm like freaking out because I was watching it the whole time. I was just like, I'm just like,
they're swinging. Look, this is like 30 seconds of swinging, and they're just barely out of range.
Yeah.
I think that's another thing that everyone, and the reason situations like that can happen and why they're probably going to become more common is people really, truly, and I think this is something Mute did really well, is understanding the true threat range that your opponent can play at. Like, especially against Fox, that's where I really, really saw it, right? Where can he neutral air? Where can he close the gap? Like, Fox is very, very scary, but only at certain distances. I mean, every character in the game kind of falls in that category, but understanding those distances and understanding where you're safe and where you're not. Some people, if you don't know, if I down throw you, am I safe afterwards? Some people just mash air dodge, and it's like, that's a common thing I look for and that I punish or whatever, right? But if you know that you're not threatened, you're not going to do something like air dodge or jump or waste a resource. You're going to sit there and wait. And you really see that from top players all the time, but it's reached like this critical point, I think, in Ultimate where everyone's just, it's going to take a lot of time to learn 90 fucking matchups, and we're finally getting there. So it's just nice, not just offensively, but defensively as well.
You know what's crazy? And I was thinking about this the other day. Most players, right? They play like right outside of like max threat range, right? Like they're like, oh well, Fox can dash attack me like here, so I'm gonna play out here. Like that's like the very common thing. Like the majority of players think that way. I was watching Leo. He actually just plays like full inside your threat range. Like I went back and I was looking at it, and like he'll like let's say like your max threat range is here, he'll just be right here. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, how are you comfortable doing that? I don't understand. Like, he's like mega comfortable playing in that threat range. And I feel like that's something that's allowing him to learn more about a player than anyone else in the world, because he's one of maybe the only person that plays that close to people. I like watch him and I'm just like, how are you not scared here? Like, how are you not panicking, rushing a button? If you're back here, I get it, right? Like, oh, they can't really hit me, whatever. You're right next to Fox. You know how many things Fox can do to you? Like, from that distance, and you're just, I mean, all right, I'm right here. What you about to do? Mm-hmm. How are you not scared? Like, I don't know. That dude, like, that dude is crazy, bro. I don't understand. I just don't understand. Like,
Yeah, it's hard to do, right? You truly have to be fearless. You have to have a lot of faith in your conditioning. There's so many different factors, and on top of that, you multiply everything by a million because you're on the Genesis stage, right?
Mhm.
And that's what I was saying all weekend. I was like, especially when Leo was ramping up throughout top 8, I was like, Mr. Genesis is in the building. There's certain players that get powered up at this tournament. Leo's obviously, suspect number 1.
Mars and Leo.
Mars is suspect
Mars and
number
Leo though.
2,
Mars
yep.
and Leo.
Mhm.
And the next person
Pluto.
on the list is the one dude that beat MK Leo at Genesis. It's Mars, right? Like, so it's crazy. Gluto also plays
Mhm.
very strong at Genesis as well. Yes.
Dude, we didn't even talk about Sonix just cruising his way into another top 8, like making it look easy, just showing up. As
Did I say
usual.
this on the show that Sonix is like
He's there.
top 10 in the world easy?
Yeah, he's there.
As good as the best of the best.
He is there.
He's
What's
just
interesting is I looked up like most of his last losses in like the past like 4 months. He's only lost to, I think, 3 characters, and it's been Aegis the majority of the time,
Yeah.
and then
Of course,
Fox, but it's only Light, and then Kameme and Shuton's Olimar, and that's it. Like he's not losing to other characters. Like I'm like
Fox and Aegis
but then it begs the question, like the Aegis
he's starting to win too.
The Aegises are only Leo and Spargo, so is it a Leo Spargo Light thing, or is it a matchup thing? Or
it's a matchup thing.
It's a matchup thing, though, right? Because
both,
when Leo's going to other characters, or Spargo went Cloud, right, and it did not work out.
Yo,
and
that Cloud got.
I was confused.
That was the wrong choice. That was the wrong choice for sure.
Well, game 3 was close. I don't think it wasn't like. Okay, to be fair, Sonix kind of just fucked him up, to be fair.
Yeah.
If you look at like the first game, it was 3 stock in Spargo's favor. And then the second game, he practically JV3'd Spargo's Pyramithra. So I don't think switching off Pyramithra was necessarily a bad thing. And just trying out the Cloud.
I do.
But staying there, no, I'm not against it, but staying on it game after you lose, when the history has shown that your Aegis can get it done, I'm probably switching back to Aegis.
Yeah, big whoop. Sonix got 3-stock game 1. He didn't switch. See ya.
Okay, buddy.
He doesn't have that choice.
He does. Yeah, of course he does.
Solo main privilege. You just ride or die no matter what.
Yeah, but what the hell?
Who's Sonix's famed secondary has?
Oh, it's the me brawler wearing the Tails outfit, right? Is that a thing? Or no, he's a gunner. He's a gunner, isn't he? That would make sense. Yeah,
the classic. What he used to defeat MK Leo.
Mm-hmm.
What he used to defeat Mick Leo at Genesis 12. Yes, of course.
Bro, I'm saying though, you just don't switch. He's always had success in that matchup. I don't think there's any But to be fair, to your point, it is a 5-game set, so you only lose one. It's not like you lose. It's not like you lose the set. If you lose that game.
This game.
He's getting cooked.
Wait,
bro.
Hold on.
This is why.
Can we let Spargo cook? Hold up.
No, I'm going back to Aegis.
We don't have that much time.
He's getting smoked.
Yeah, bro. I don't know about this.
Help.
Okay,
no way, man.
The Aegis should have came out game 4.
Not only that, but he's played the matchup a ton with Sonix and has had a lot of positive success against him. There's no, I don't know. Maybe it was a Smashville thing. Is another thing I was thinking.
Smashville diff. Yeah.
So hear me out.
No.
I think Sonix is on the level of the best like Leo, Spargo.
I agree.
I think he just is.
Yeah.
But they have been on this stage many more times than him.
Yes.
And he is getting more comfortable, and he is showing up because he is just as good as like all of us, like me, Aqua. Like I think he is that good. Yeah. And but he is getting more experience, and it is getting harder and harder to win versus him, and he is winning more and more often.
Right.
He's just I feel like the only sets that he loses, especially in the caliber of like top 8 Genesis, especially a set versus Leo, he dropped maybe like a handful of edge guards, and I even mentioned on the mic, I was like, this should be it. And
He'll get there. Dropped it there. I swear.
I know.
Good.
The experience is gonna help him, right? Like obviously, executing all of your edge guards against Leo, and then it's game 5, and you got to put the nail in the coffin. It's not that.
I've played him in like hundreds of games. He is just
Yeah.
Like some of the best practice you can get. So it's
he missed. I think it was back air. I think it was game 3, back air to edge guard photon edge, and I'm like, I've never seen him miss that. I'm almost positive he did, or maybe it was forward air, but specifically back air against Mithra side B. I'm like, I've never seen him miss that, and I'm pretty sure he did either game 3 or game 4 to close it out. And I was like, I've literally never seen him miss that. It's like Steph Curry at the foul line, bro. Like he never missed that shit. It never happens. So
he's one of those players where I'm looking at the bracket. There's never like a situation where I'm like, oh, he's gonna lose. It's always like, I don't see why he can't win. Why not? Every time it lined any matchup, like even when the head to head isn't in his favor, I'm like, I will never be surprised if Sonix wins a set ever.
The proof there too is that he had to play Leo and Spargo going into this, and he beat Spargo, which I think is I think obviously that's the first step. But the second one, the next day, I saw a lot of people posting their predictions for top 8 online. A lot of people had Sonix over Leo. Sure, some of that is recency bias. He just did it. Let's make big move, of course. But at the same time,
very easy decision. Who won last time?
Yes, but also like Leo didn't go Aegis the whole set. I don't know. I think it's I don't know. Like history obviously favors Leo overall. And I think, too, Leo was on a bit of a revenge tour this Genesis. You see me fourth, motherfuckers? What the hell?
Dude, my God, was it a close call? He went down 0-2 so many times. I know. It's so fucking hard to 3-0 Leo, man. There's only so many people that have done it, but fucking Christ, it is so hard to just put him down. Like, I'm up 2-0, just finish the job, and then Leo and Leo can be like down game 3.
Both people sitting down know what the situation is.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Leo knows he's been in this spot before, and the opponent knows what spot they're in.
I win this game, I win the set. Dude, I gotta win this game or I lose the set. Like,
all right, I'm down 0-2. Sounds good. I'm up 0-2. I'm up.
It was a good tournament. It was fun.
Oh, I'm up 2-1 against Leo now. GG's. See you in losers bracket.
And that, that stage composure is something I want to talk about with Mute. Like Mute having a long run, you could see like the stress getting to Mute as the event went on. Like after every win, it's like, oh my gosh, I won. Like, oh, I'm here. Oh, I'm in winners finals. I'm in winners finals. I'm in grands. And like when you get to that spot for the first time, like a first or second on the biggest stage, and then you're sitting there. And the person you have to beat is MK Leo to win the bracket.
I feel like it's like I was talking about earlier, where these patterns and these consistencies, they really write themselves as the game has been out for so many years. We know who's been on the stage more than the others. We know who's a bit newer to it. And it's going to take time for some of the other players to be on an even playing field up there. You know what I mean? It's funny because that MK Leo's in loser side of grand finals, but no one who knows is going to think that Mute has the upper hand because he didn't. And that just shows how impressive Leo's like stamina, composure, experience, like it just, but it's also like, I feel like we wouldn't, as a competitor, I wouldn't want it any other way. Like if I'm going to win like a huge tournament, I'm super down for Leo to be the person I'm playing against. It's just kind of beautiful, like it, like I said, it just writes itself. Like, of course that's the person you're going to have to beat to win a tournament. If you want to win a big tournament, that's probably the number one name you're going to have to beat at some point. Whether it's probably like Leo or Spargo or something, you know what I mean? So
I remember for Genesis 7 talking with Mars after, he was just like, I can't remember who the losers finals for Genesis 7 was, but I remember Mars saying specifically, like, he was like, I need Leo to get to me. This will not feel like a Genesis win if I don't beat Leo in grands. And I mean, just like you were saying, and I was even thinking about earlier, how many players have double eliminated Leo out of a tournament to win it? I don't even think you can put it all in one hand. Like, I don't think there's more than 5 players that ever did that.
I think Gavin's about to do some more research.
I think Tweek's actually one of them. I think Gavin's one of them.
He is.
Yes.
Yeah. Gavin is one of them. And then and then I can't, it's, I would have to dig deep, but I don't think there's like 5 or more players, or maybe 5, but I don't think there's more than 5 players that have done that to Leo. It's
Probably a small list.
It's a very, very small list. And I mean, Mute had a chance to do it, but again, like we were talking about, it's that hard. Like when you're playing Leo, like the more games you have to play Leo against, it gets rough. And I mean, just think about that's why Leo's so good in best of 5. He's so good in best of 5. And how many reverse 3-0s has he had? Every single, like, you just add one more game, one more set, anything like that, it just becomes that much tougher to beat him because how fast he adapts is just.
All right, I have
insane.
a plan. Next time I fight Leo, it's gonna be in the like amateur like redemption bracket, and it's gonna be best of 3 round 1. Let's see what you can do now, bro.
Just throw game 1. Go in reverse 3-0 you. It's genius. Just jump off 3 times and say, "What are you banned?" GG's.
Oh damn, you got me.
Speaking of bans, can we get fucking rid of Lilat now? Is it over? Can we please?
Please,
Yeah,
man.
I saw it twice.
I ran, and in crucial moments, game 5, Mars Gluto was one of them, and Spargo Light, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I tweeted. I asked, "What do you guys think about?" Let me see. Let me pull it up. I just wrote Lilat. Legal or illegal? 66%, 1,500 votes. 66% illegal. Get rid of that shit.
Why is that so much lower than I thought?
I know, dude. I thought it would be like a clear 80-20, but
well, I know the Smash community is a little weird, where they're like, more stages the better, diversity.
No.
They get like very weird.
Fuck it. Put on Mushroom Kingdom 2 then. Fuck
No,
it.
yeah, no, they get that level of weird. They get really upset when there's less stages.
We all agree though.
They
right?
take it to heart.
Get rid of it.
They get mad.
I've been team fuck Lilat forever. Fuck that stage. I hate Lilat so fucking much.
It's so funny how polarizing it is. No one feels like middle ground about it. It's either I love that stage or I fucking hate that
Battlefield
crowd.
and Dreamland. What the heck?
Huh?
Yeah, go back to Smash 4 stage list. Battlefield Dreamland. Bring it back.
I want to lose to Mario right now. Give me options.
I remember being a Fox player, and I'll just ask my opponent, "What's your ban?" And then like just frame one. If they said Battlefield, I'd be like, as they're finishing the word Battlefield, I'd be like, "All right, Dreamland." Or if they vice versa, and it's just like, I'm getting triplats. You only have one ban. I get to play on triplats. Fuck you. It was hype.
I guess that about wraps it up for today. It was a crazy weekend.
Yeah, it was really good. I had a great weekend.
I might go back to practicing. That's how.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
Oh, we feeling inspired out here?
Yeah, I already did my practice for the day, but I'm probably gonna keep playing.
So,
what?
I'm tight.
Do we count this G4 Invitational? If so, Larry's one of the people who's double eliminated Leo. Sorry, I started.
Let's go, Larry.
Let's
who did Leo go?
We count those. We count
I
those.
think he went Corrin. That was during his Corrin thing, right?
Yeah,
he went Corrin winners, and then he tried in losers.
It doesn't count. Larry sucks. Damn. All right.
That's
See you
crazy.
guys. Have a good weekend.
Tom almost did it last night too at the MSM.